Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us here at the Blank Space podcast. Today, we have someone who I am a very big fan of. Shaan Dasani is an award-winning Indian American actor, writer, and filmmaker based in Los Angeles, a graduate of Chapman University's MFA film production program, and a member of both SAG-AFTRA and the DGA. Shaan has written, directed, and produced more than 30 short films, which is no small feat, commercials, and music videos. His on-screen credits include Criminal Minds, Beyond Borders, 911, and commercial work for Google and Wells Fargo. Nice work if you can get it. On stage, he made his Los Angeles debut with the Blank Theatre in The Not Lesbians and has performed in multiple Hollywood Fringe Festival productions. Shaan is best known for his work in the digital series These Thems and Razor Tongue, and was featured in the New York Times as a trailblazer redefining masculinity in media. He uses his platform to advocate for representation, inclusivity, and the evolution of gender narratives in Hollywood, and right now is one of my favorite filmmakers. So let's get into this. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, Toks. Thank you for that wonderful and warm introduction. I really appreciate that.
We met earlier this year at the Bentonville Film Festival, which is Gina Davis's film
Mhm.
festival, and it is in Bentonville, Arkansas, as you said, of all places. It ends up being, ironically, the most amazing melting pot of every kind of minority you could ever find. Brown people, Black people, Asian people, Latino people, transgendered people, queer people, just disabled people. I mean, so many different people who don't usually get their voices heard, don't usually get their films seen. And this festival serves as a platform to make sure that these artists can be heard, and there is some fantastic work done. And I was on the short film jury, and I was lucky enough to watch your film Witness, which I watched 3 times and was my first pick. You have to get together with a few other people and you have to discuss, and you kind of have to lose some of your choices. This was my number one, and I basically accosted you at a different event. It was like, oh my God, I'm such a big fan of your film.
Cost me anytime. That was the best interaction I think I've had at a film festival. So thank you for that. No, it's I think maybe Bentonville was our, I'm losing count. It was early. We're still very early in our festival journey. We premiered at Slam Dance in February, and then we had 3 or 4 fests after that, and then Bentonville. Um, when you talk about Bentonville, the thing is, I I love that this fest happens. It's what they've done. They've literally transformed this
Yes.
town because I think it's the headquarters
Yes.
for Walmart. From what I understand, they approached Gina Davis, who that's her hometown as well. They approached her some 10 plus years ago, and they said, "Hey, you should start a film festival." What I learned was that there wasn't even a
There
movie
was
theater over
nothing.
there. And so whatever they did, there was nothing there. And so that whole area, there's just like a creative complex. And I think these are the towns that we need it the most. We need it in places like
Hmm.
Bentonville. And I had a very interesting interaction. I actually was staying at an Airbnb and I walked 2 miles to a Walmart because I wanted to pick up some groceries so I could cook for myself because I'm pretty much plant based and I'm buying
Uh-huh.
tofu. The lady is watching me she's at the register. You're doing self checkout and she's kind of watching and she looks over and she comes up to me. She's like, "Can I ask you a question?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And she says, "What does tofu taste like?" And I said, "Nothing. It tastes like nothing." And I said, "You have to season it with
Yeah.
whatever you want, then it takes on that flavor." And we ended up having a deep conversation about, look, I'm a Californian, right? I'm an LA California guy, so I like my
Hmm.
kale smoothie, whatever, right? So we get into a whole conversation about health and wellness, and we couldn't on the surface be more
Right.
different as people, her experiences in life and on and on. And it's like this beautiful connection of understanding that happened over
Yeah.
tofu. and, and I love that, when you bring people from different backgrounds together, such as a film festival in a place like Bentonville, you get these like magical sparks of connection with others that you feel, maybe that perception of
Hmm.
we're different. We are different, but that I think is the best thing that
Yes.
we have is those differences and the ability to come together through that. So that's just my
Yeah.
side
No, I
story
love
about
that. I am
Bentonville.
vegan, and when
Right.
people ask me what tofu tastes like, I say
Mm.
anything you want.
Even better.
What do you want it to taste like?
That's right. That's right. I'm gonna start saying it that way now. That's you have such a finesse. I love
It's
it.
the Nigerian in me. I'm like, how can I twist this to make it sound good? We're good at that. Yeah, it's a magical
Love
place.
it.
I really recommend
Yeah.
for people to go. I'm going to go next year. I want to take my whole family with me. I had such a good time. They have events for kids. They have all sorts of things. This year,
Yeah.
Gina read a book that she had written. Gina is literally a genius. She's a member of Mensa, and so whenever she wants to get something done, she just does.
Mhm.
She's phenomenal, and one of the
Yeah.
kindest human beings. Just yeah,
She's wonderful.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Really
am
adore her.
I am very excited to see where the journey of Witness takes you. I personally want to see it as a feature because I grew up in Nigeria. I grew up in a country that is 50% Christian and 50% Muslim. And I come from a Nigerian family that is 50% Christian and 50% Muslim. My dad's father was Christian, my dad's mother was Muslim. And so we grow up with that being part of our lives, even if we are not actually Muslim. We have Muslim friends. We observe the holidays, and so to watch a film that was based within the mosque and within the community and showing an imam having to struggle with do I honor my community as a whole, or do I honor each member, meaning this one person who I love, but I know will be judged by the rest of my congregants. It's such a fantastic, fantastic
Yeah.
movie.
I'll set it up a little bit for the audience who probably hasn't seen it because right now it's just at film festivals, so depending on where folks are. Um, but the story takes place in a small town in America, and it's set in a mosque in a Muslim community. And the imam, the head of the mosque, he is congregating a wedding. He's officiating a wedding at the beginning of the film. And in Islamic culture, for a wedding to be considered valid, at least two men have to witness the wedding, or four women have to witness the wedding. And so it's a very small, intimate ceremony happening, and the second male witness doesn't show up to the wedding. So the couple's waiting, and then the imam decides he's going to go get somebody else. And so I happen to be there, and he finds me. He says, "Hey, come witness this wedding. You know, this is our kind of how we help each other as family." And what he doesn't know is that I'm a trans man. And later, when it's revealed to him, he's having this moral dilemma in terms of, well, what does that mean? Does that mean that now this wedding or this marriage is not, an official marriage? Like, are they actually married now per our custom or not? And it opens up so many interesting questions about identity and about spirituality and about belonging. And when you come from a spiritual background, we should be leading with empathy, but there is also that community pressure and that social pressure that comes with it, that it almost tells us what we should believe as opposed to us really digging deep within to figure out what we actually believe. So it opens up a lot of really wonderful conversations. And we shot in February 2024, March 2024. And I received this through a friend who sent me an Instagram
Wow.
post because I didn't know the writer and the writer Safe, and I didn't know the director. Safe and Radha ended up co-directing, Safe John and Radha Mehta. I knew of Radha and we had met a few months prior at a film fest, but she wasn't overly familiar with my work and I was just getting to learn more about hers. But when I got the Instagram post, I actually didn't know who was doing the film. It just was like a blank casting Gmail address, right? So we had this mutual friend who sent it to me who told Radha, hey, you should talk to Shaan. Radha didn't know my background at all. And so she assumed I was maybe not the right person to play the character. Then we ended up, I think our mutual friend let her know that, hey, yeah, he actually might be the right fit for this character. So then I submitted my audition and then we had a follow up by Zoom. And I was just incredibly moved by the material. I'm not Muslim. That was one thing I was concerned about. I was raised very spiritual, but not in the Muslim faith. But I related to the character. His sense of spirituality is just as important to him as his trans identity is. And I remember personally for me going through this journey of really reconciling the two for myself. But I was also many years removed from that. So kind of stepping back into that space for this character who is very clear on who he is as a man, but he is now looking at himself through outside eyes. How is everybody else going to view me? And that was really interesting to me. And so I remember reading the script and, even through the audition, it was just so incredibly moving to me that I was just keeping my fingers crossed that I would get it. And so luckily it worked out. But yeah, it's a very wonderful film. And I think we see a lot of trans narratives, or we've seen a lot of trans narratives, but I've never seen anything
No,
from this
not
lens.
at all.
And I think it's important because many of the stories that we have seen tend to be coming out stories, which I think there's a time and place for that. I think we've moved into a bit of a different realm as a society on the whole, where we have to be telling our stories as a more holistic 360 view of who we are as people and what are all the things that make us who we are, and not just this one thing. That's one thing I really appreciated about
Yeah.
Witness.
And also just the
Yeah.
idea as well. I love it when people who do not know enough, and I'm assuming from your last name that you're Sindhi. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
My
How
my
did you
best
know
friend
that?
growing up, I grew up in Nigeria. We have a lot of Indians, and my best friend growing up was Sindhi. So yeah,
Oh my
so
God. Sindh, it's a region that was in India, but when India and Pakistan split in 1947, that state went to the Pakistan side. So the Sindhis who were Hindu went all over the world. And yeah, you're right. There's a strong
yeah,
population in Nigeria as
yeah.
well, but that's not many people know that.
I
So
have little
yeah.
surprises. See what happens, guys, when you're
Oh my God.
international and you learn about other people. See what can happen. Um, so yeah, and I think that it's
Yeah.
important to, people have a real solid idea of what they think any religion other than Christianity is, and most
Mhm.
especially Islam. And I don't think that people understand that the majority of imams on this planet are very much like the imam in this story, because staying with the times and being present and translating the Quran into what fits in this time while still maintaining the culture is very important to imams. They want to make sure that their community and congregation is going to thrive in today's world. It's not something that is often shown. So to show a character wrestling with which way to go with this I thought it was just such an interesting and very honest and valid look inside that. It was really
Mm.
great. I hope it does very well, because it's a great story. It's well filmed, it's well directed, it's well performed. Everything about it is fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. Congrats on it.
Thank you. And just a quick nugget on that. I know if our director and our writer were here, they would probably speak to that, because one thing that I learned, and even through our process, that it was a very intentional choice to tell that story through the imam's
Mm,
perspective, because they said, the majority of our audience is going to be looking at it through his lens. So we have to have him be the vehicle into this world. Yes, just for the very reason that you're
yeah,
talking about.
it's such a good choice. Just
Yeah.
a really, again, I watched it 3 times. It was so good.
Thank you for
And
that.
now
Thank
let's
you.
get into everything else. Why do you do this crazy thing that we call acting? Why are you in this industry?
Want to ask you the same question, Tokes. I think we probably all ask ourselves that many, many times. It's just a feeling. I don't know if I even have words to it. It's for so long. I started behind the scenes. I started out in film production because when I was growing up in North Carolina, being an actor was not a thing that I thought people do
Right.
for real. Like people like me, I'm like, who? No, you don't do that. But film production, I thought there's a little bit of a practical element to that, little bit, right? Not that I'm a practical person on the whole, but there was something. It was like my way in, so to speak, because I love
Mhm.
story. I love story, and I love storytelling. As a kid, we have a big South Asian family. It's many cousins, and we were doing skits and events. I was always writing them, and I would always cast myself as the lead
Why
because
not?
no one told me not to. So like, listen, I'm gonna be the main person here to all my cousins. They're like, okay, go ahead. And then when I left for grad school, I came out to Southern California to Chapman for film school. And I studied, all the behind the scenes, the writing, the producing, editing, directing. You do a little bit of everything. And I was maybe 8 or 9 years out of school, I was sitting with a friend of mine. We had just done a series of dance videos that I directed for an app, and he was editing. And he also is somebody like a jack of all trades, also an actor, also a musician, also a cinematographer. And I said, man, I really want to get into acting. And I had just started my medical transition journey to be able to present how I felt at my best. And he said, well, what's stopping you now? You've been actually saying this for a long time. And I had never heard it. And when he reflected that, I thought, yeah, actually, I should start doing it. He said, tomorrow when you come for our session, bring a white shirt, bring a black shirt. We're going to take your headshots and we're going to submit you. We're going to start submitting you on Actors Access. And the first audition I had 2 days later was for the Young Playwrights Festival at the Blank. And I was like, I have an audition. I was so excited. A week later, I went in person for the audition. I was extremely nervous, but I ended up getting it. That was my first step into it. And I thought, that's easy.
Right?
It's not that easy. It is not that
I
easy,
mean,
let me tell you.
yes, it doesn't usually happen that quickly for people. However, it's the doing the thing, right? You have to do the
Yeah,
thing.
it's the doing the thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was summer 2014. That's when I did Young Playwrights Festival. So we're talking about 11 years ago. And I think through the course of time, when you ask me why do I do it, I think I'm only recently started to settle into the love of it, because I think there's so much pressure to be somebody or to be known or what all the other things about it. But I think only recently I realized, I actually just kind of
Yeah.
love it. And that's just a simple answer right there. In the spring, I got a chance to do The Winter's Tale.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
Thank You, which is in Los Feliz. And, many of the actors that were part of the show are Shakespeare trained actors or Yale School of Drama. And that's not my training at all. And so I felt like, okay, I'm the new one kind of stepping into it. But the whole rehearsal process for, I think, 4 or 5 weeks, I was watching every single performer and learning as much as I could. And I didn't understand iambic pentameter and breaking down Shakespeare. And I said, teach me. Some of my fellow castmates, teach me what you know. And just that, the joy that comes from learning something that you don't know and diving into a world that in your day-to-day life you have no perspective for. I think I finally understood many actors who do it for the love of it. It was starting to show up in me, like that enthusiasm was showing up for me in that way. And I think now it's like every chance I get, do it because you love it. Do it because there's some material you're drawn to
Right.
that's expanding who you are as a human being, and it's just such a blessing to get to do it.
It
So
is.
I don't want to stop that.
No, the feeling.
Some other force of world might stop that, but I don't want to stop
It's like
that.
you said, the
Yeah.
first thing you said was it's the feeling. And it's so interesting because I am trained, and as far as I'm concerned, I never want to see Shakespeare again in my life or be in A Midsummer Night's Dream for the seventh time. Like I'm good. But to hear you
Mm,
talk about it, that's very interesting. And it goes to show that
mm,
you don't actually have to be a trained actor to be on stage in this industry, any of it. You need
mm,
good people around you. You need to have a willingness to learn, and you have to love the art. That is what is important, is loving the art. And if you
mm,
are someone who enjoys a challenge and enjoys learning, you're going to do really well in this industry, because
mm,
that's what it is
mm,
every single time. I mean, the amount of times I've been in something and they're like, hey, do you think that, we can choreograph like a 2.5 minute like fight for you to do? And I was like, yeah, yeah. Do you think that your double's gonna have to do it? I was like, yeah, I could do it. I mean, I had taken martial arts like 130 years ago for like a year and a half. And
Oh
I was
yeah.
like, yeah, I didn't know if I could do it. And I did. And it's that kind of stuff where you're like, sure, I can do it. And then, people help you with it. They help you along.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know until recently why I do it, just like you. And I was doing this podcast and interviewing someone, and I realized through what they were saying that the reason that I do it is
Mm,
because for some ironic reason, even though I'm playing other people, I feel like I can be 100% myself while I'm working,
mm,
if that makes any sense.
mm.
I feel like the most
Yeah.
me when I'm doing it.
Right. I completely understand that. It's almost counterintuitive intuitive in some ways, but it's like it's all part of who we are. We're accessing parts of ourselves anyway to be this other
Yeah.
person. I don't know. I guess it's almost spiritual in some ways, right? Because what are we doing with our lives anyway? We're trying to figure out, get to the root of who we are.
Yes.
There's a deep well there. But I think also it's understanding the human experience, not just through our own lens, it's through all these other character lenses too. So I think it's beautiful work that we definitely get to do.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that with me.
Yeah, it was so interesting. I was like, I just realized I've been doing this for over 30 years and I just realized why I do it. I was like, oh my God. And that's again one of the wonderful things about
Yeah.
this industry. You'll have a conversation with another actor or you'll do a project or read something, watch something, and it actually opens something in you that you're like, oh God, I didn't realize yes, that resonates with me. That's why the arts are so important. I wish they were funded.
I'm curious because I know you've been doing this longer than I have, and you have a huge body of work, television, theater, and you've done so many things. At what point for you did it feel like not so much pressure? Like do you know what I mean? Like the pressure to, I'm at this stage, I've been doing this for this long, I need to be here in my career, or like I don't know, even if you audition or have to
Mm.
audition anymore, but something comes in, you're like, oh, I have to just get it right. Taking that pressure off and just doing it, like remembering that you've got to come from a place of love,
Yeah.
no matter what the result is. When did that shift for you?
Initially, I didn't have any of that. I was just happy to be working. And then I got my first series regular when I was about 35. And I started to panic because I was like, oh my God, what are people going to say? What are they going to think? They're going to criticize me. I'm not good enough for this. And, my imposter syndrome really hit, right? And I
Mhm.
worried about it and worried about it and worried what I looked like and worried if I was, giving good enough performances and am I going to get fired every day? Every day I was like, I'm getting fired. I'm getting fired. Then I had my kid right before the pandemic. He was 5 when the pandemic hit. I went back to work September of 2022, I think on the first thing that opened up, and I worked steadily through the pandemic. And honestly, I was so tired that all I could do
Mm.
was get to set and say my lines and enjoy it. Like just sitting in it was the only way that I could get through it. And I kind of learned to enjoy it because I was too tired to not enjoy it. And then soon after that, I got cancer. And when I tell you, I have a kid and I've survived something it took a year and a half to get through. And now the fact that I get to do these things, I no longer worry about what I look like. I no longer worry about any of it because I realize, first of all, I'm getting the auditions, right? If you're just even getting the auditions, you are going far. There are literally hundreds of thousands of people
Mm.
submitting who never even get to the point of getting an audition. If you get to the
Mm.
point where you have been cast, they had other choices, a lot of other choices, and they chose you. And you deserve that spot. You deserve that spot. You worked for
Mm.
it. So now you get to enjoy it. You get to sit in what it is you want to do, what you've wanted to do since you were little, that you actually get the opportunity to do. So I'm just so gleeful when I get to do it. And I trust in my producers and my writers and my directors and my fellow actors. They will steer me in the right direction if I get something wrong, and I'll get to do it again or whatever. I'll get to rehearse it. They'll teach me something that I need to know, and it's going to be great.
It's so interesting and fascinating to me what you just shared, because it was everything else in your life that added
Yeah.
perspective on what's actually really important. That letting go of, and it's not that this isn't, but letting go of the weight of the work came through all the other things that were going on in your
Yeah.
life. That's really fascinating. And that's when, I guess, when you're around, even in acting class, when they tell you like make sure you're doing other
Yeah.
things in your life early on, it's hard to understand that, but those are the things that are going to make the work much more meaningful. So yeah, that's great to
Yeah.
hear, and
100%.
congratulations on getting through
Thank
that.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you. Believe it or
absolutely.
not, there were many silver linings. I don't wish it on anyone and I don't want to go through it again, but there were many,
Yeah.
many silver linings. And, there are sometimes it's like, it really teaches you to sit in where you're at. Like the thing that I was talking about was the first thing I went back on during pandemic was Shameless, and I was playing this horrible police officer. She was terrible, and I played her not aggressive at all. She was super chill, and then she would have these moments where she was really aggressive, which made it like really crazy and explosive. And people were like, how did you make that choice? And I was like, that I was sleep deprived. Like I had to sit in it. Like that's all the energy I had. So I had to kind of just take it and make it work.
Yeah.
You know, it
Yeah.
wasn't as deep as it
Look at
seems.
that.
Like I literally just had to be like, this is where I'm at, guys. I don't have anything else to give you. Like, so yeah, you
I love
learn
that.
to enjoy it. And it's just such a shame. Like so many of us are so aware of like what we look like, especially if we are like any kind of minority and we know that we're not,
Mhm.
the epitome of what America wants to see or whatever.
Oh my God.
And it's like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got a series regular on a show with people I love and admire 2 weeks out of chemo. My skin was a color that it should not have been. Humans don't have that skin color.
Mm.
I looked terrible
Mm.
and I still got the job. And that's when I was like, that was my final thing. What do I look like? My final thing I was hanging on to, gone. I was like, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It doesn't matter what I look like.
Well, first of all, you are stunning. I mean, I just have to, I will not
Thank
stop.
you.
I'll tell you that right. Yes, you glow. You have a radiance about you, a lightness about you, and I think that also probably comes through. As you're even in tapes, even in self tapes, it's like the essence of who we are. Like it comes
Yeah,
through.
it's true. It's true. But now I'm going to turn it right back
Mm.
around on you. I want to know, I'm really interested
Yeah.
in how it felt when you were told that the New York Times is telling everybody they need to keep an eye out for you and your work. What was that like?
You know, that was you talk about imposter syndrome. Literally, because I was there with four or five other trans guys who were much farther ahead in their career than I was. I thought we took we took a group picture, and I strategically placed myself a step forward.
Well
I
done.
was
Good
like,
job.
"Listen, guys, you gotta stand back." And no, really, on a serious note, I literally, I felt like this was in, I want to say 2017, and there was a lot of attention on trans folks in the media in a way that felt like it was a positive tide coming. It felt really empowering, and I thought, this is great. Things are finally changing, and I'm in the right place at the right time, and we're seeing these new narratives come through, and people are ready. And here we are in 2025, and it's almost as if the narrative has been taken
Yeah.
over by people who have no understanding of what it is to be queer or trans, especially trans. And that is, we're in a bit of a dangerous place right now. But I think as we're talking about it, it makes me feel that things are cyclical. There are always waves, and I don't know that there will ever be a time. I don't know that we're just gonna fully get there, and we're here, and now we're not going back. I don't know that,
Yeah.
because I don't know if as humans we're capable of that. Since the beginning of time, we're trying to understand each other, and then there's pushback, and then we're trying, and then there's pushback, and we just have to go with the
Hmm.
waves. So it was really something to be a part of it. But then the Times also has been criticized quite a bit in its anti-trans
Yeah.
rhetoric, in the way articles have been coming out, and who they're letting in to speak about trans narratives, and many
Right.
times aren't trans people.
Right.
So it's interesting to see the push and pull of that. So it was great at the time, but we're in a different place today, and I think we have to, if we're lucky enough to stay in this industry and be in this industry, as whether you're an actor, a writer, director, producer, wherever you are in it, as someone who is from a marginalized community, there's that added responsibility that we have to understand that we're part of the cultural narrative as well.
Yes.
Working to kind of have ownership over our own stories is the only way to help create that sense of balance, I guess, against everything else that's going on. So coming back to when you're asking me why do I do it, it's not just the kind of like romantic feelings. It's like, no, it actually feels deeply important, because what happens if we stop?
Hmm. Yeah.
Who's telling our stories, and how much do they really understand? And so I there is that weight of responsibility of continuing to push forward, and I think like really tuning into, well, where are we at, what kinds of narratives are important to be telling right now, that's going to help bring us together. We are so far divided right now, so it's like, it's really, to me, about bringing people together and coming from that place of, we're either coming from love or fear, and if we're not coming from love, then we're being driven by
Right.
fear. And so I think it's time to kind of like really evolve and get to that next level and tell stories in a way that's like compassionate also to people that don't understand, and that's hard.
Yes, it's hard, but it's so necessary. I was actually having a conversation
Yeah.
about like around this yesterday with a friend of mine who was getting really frustrated and was like, why do we have to like have like his her labels and we, and I'm non-binary and I'm this and I'm that and I'm a trans man and I'm a trans woman. Like, why can't everyone just live their lives? And I was like, well, And I kind of took it back to like when, now Black people in all countries are fine with being called Black, but for a while we would use the term African American. And the reason why that was important was because it was putting more weight on a cultural background and kind of becoming more a part of who these people were, as opposed to just a group of people who brought over to be slave workers, right? And so claiming that
Mm, mhm,
identity of, no, I'm very specifically an African American, that is my heritage. And then once people were able to really understand that, we could go back to, okay, now everyone's Black, and we
mhm.
have now more books written, more movies, more TV shows where people are delving into slavery and systemic racism and what that's about. And so you kind of do have to like separate and label everybody so that the people who don't want to look and don't want to include can see, hey, all of these people exist. You have to know that every single different kind of this person exists. The trans community is a
Mm,
very
mm,
important community to me. I don't know why. I
mm,
think maybe it's because I'm queer, but I'm bisexual and I have primarily
mm,
dated men. I am married to a man and I am in a position where I can pass. I can say or
mm.
not say that I'm a member of the queer community, right? And still live my
Yeah, and
truth,
that's your right.
right?
Yeah.
But for somebody, this whole like it's a choice nonsense, for somebody to live their truth in a way that is dangerous is
Mm,
it includes like so much stuff that you have to go through medically, that you have to go through emotionally. It's so much more. I have such great respect for the level of honesty that the trans
mm,
community is living in order to
mm,
be true to oneself. It is a lesson that
mm,
everybody can take from, because I believe that the most hateful people and the most gatekeepy people and the most bigoted people are people who are scared to be themselves. They're scared to really look
I
into the
fully agree
depth
with
of
you.
themselves, and they are essentially envious of a population that
Yeah.
can do this. And it's so important to me to give support and to have representation in film and television and on stage is so important, because young trans people need to know that they matter, that it's okay for you
Mm,
to live your truth, and there is a life out there for you. When I think of young people, like I, as a Black woman, I think of the fact that when I moved to LA, nobody wanted me to wear my hair curly. Everybody wanted me to blow my hair out. And it's a
mm,
very different thing. But I then kind of had to fight for, like, no, I want to wear my hair curly. Like that. Why does it have to look as Caucasian as possible? And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to
mm.
braids. We're going to have braids on television, because
Yeah,
it's
hell
important
yeah.
for young Black girls to be like, oh, my hair is normal, there's nothing wrong or different about my hair. My hair is perfectly what it needs
Yeah.
to be. My skin color is perfectly what it needs to be. My eye color, like I don't have to like adhere to like a norm that everybody
Mm,
thinks. Like I get to be my true self, and it's just so important. The representation
yeah.
is a big aspect. And now that we actually have trans actors playing trans characters, like you said, we were getting somewhere and we've kind of gone back a bit. But because we've gone back a bit, I feel like even more important work has come out as a result.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it's interesting because, in our personal lives, we can kind of start smashing boxes and you get into this industry where it's appearances matter, how you present matters. We're told many times to be in, like, to go back in these narrow spaces. And I think it is, I mean, kudos to you for like just saying, no, nope, I'm going to
Yeah.
do it my way, because that is actually what this country is. We are a lot of different communities in one nation, whereas you go to a place like India, whatever, there's diversity there too, but it's by and large more homogenous than what we have here, right? And so to be able to see in the media that we have all of those differences reflected, not to make a big deal out of it, but just because that is just a reflection of who we are as
Yes.
a country. We need that. Otherwise, we start thinking that we are a
Mhm.
minority, and
Right.
we're not.
Right.
There's so many like us, and I think we're more alike than we realize. We just have to put our
Yeah.
walls down a little bit. But it's interesting because I think, even within the trans community, there's in any community, there's a power, but there's a fragileness to it too that I think about sometimes, where I'm 11 years into my journey. And, when younger kids, I don't know, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, these young kids are coming out, it's like there's a different relationship to an identity, whether it's trans or gender queer or gender fluid or non-binary or whatever it may be. There's a different relationship to that doesn't mirror necessarily what I feel for mine. And I think even in our own community, like we all don't believe the
Right.
same things, even within our own community. And so I think that we have to continue to give each other room when you're talking about earlier, like all the other words and all the other labels and why they're important. Well, even for us, it's like, well, there are new identity markers coming out that we've never heard before. So it's like, let me just continue to stay open. What is the harm in
Right.
staying open? Right. And it's like, it's different, it's new. We're continuing
Hmm.
to get older. And then for them, when they're at our ages, it'll be
Yes.
different still. I mean, that's what happens. That's what evolution is. And so I think just getting that pushes us as humans too. It's like just stay
Yes.
open and
Yeah.
try and create systems that work. It's not going to be a perfect thing. I mean, you're not going to have something that works for everybody, but then talk to everybody so you understand what the
Yes.
needs are. Right now, we're not having the conversations politically. The conversations are largely happening excluding trans people, about trans people. That's a mistake. So for us to kind of come together and understand, well, what are the needs? What are we, how much money are we spending in targeting trans people that we could be putting in education or roads or any other thing that we
Exactly.
need, you know?
Exactly.
So that, yeah, that perspective is really
It
missing
is. I
today.
mean, if you even think of
Um,
like, so that it makes me think of the way that I parent my kid as opposed to the way my parents parented
mm,
me. I was born in 1975. I'm a child of the 80s and 90s. My dad is Nigerian, my mother is Norwegian, and they were very just, do your work, do it well, excel. I'm not helping you. Don't complain. Don't have emotions. Like, just keep on trucking, get all your A's, overachieve, rest. What is rest? Are you lazy? Like this whole thing. And not telling me anything, not cluing me into anything. God forbid I even ask what's for dinner, like, and with my kid, I respect him as a human being. So, yes, while I make sure that
mm,
he is kind and he is someone who is making himself useful and he's learning and he will be self sufficient, I am also teaching him that he has to rest sometimes and that his opinion matters. And I am honest with him about things that are going on so that he's not anxious about, God, I feel the energy is going on, but I don't know what it is. And it's the exact same thing. You have to include everybody and make them, and not make them, but actually see them. It's not even making people feel seen. You have to actually see people and include people, not just because it's important to know what they think in order to create a life for everybody, as you said, that can work in some way, but also when people feel like they're not seen or not heard or not even human, that is that is almost irreparable damage.
yeah, yeah, you're right.
Okay, now
Yeah.
something a little more
Mm.
playful. I just want you for like just a couple minutes to talk to me about one of my favorite things in the world, the most successful film industry in the world, Bollywood. Talk it to
Yeah.
me.
Oh God. Bollywood. I was interviewed on a radio show in it's an American based South Asian radio show, maybe 3 weeks ago. And the host of that show, I mean, she grew up in India, right? So her Hindi is like amazing. So she starts rattling off a few things and I start sweating. Like literally, I was like, oh God, don't make me speak too much because it'll all come out wrong. Because I'm not a
Right.
native Hindi speaker. I actually learned what I learned from
Right.
watching Bollywood films. So it's very what we call
Hmm.
filmy. It's like people don't really talk like that. It's just you sound like you're in a movie. Why are you sounding like that? But I grew up watching Bollywood films. I mean, mainstream Hollywood films. And then mom and dad, we had and grandparents and uncles and aunts, we had Bollywood movies going on at home. And so like, yeah, I that influence was very heavy in my life. There's always a
Hmm.
happy ending, so you always feel things will be fine. And it's good to move through life
Yes,
that
it
way.
is.
But there's such a, I don't know, films there's even today, I mean, there's such a romantic element, but there's more nuance coming out in
Yeah.
stories now, and I love seeing that. I don't get to watch Bollywood films much, but the one that I watched most recently, the main character, he falls in love with a woman who he later realizes is a robot. And his aunt is a huge techie, and he comes to stay at his aunt's house, and then this girl is there, and he's like, oh my god, she's perfect. And then, and then he realizes she's a robot because one day she malfunctions, and he's like, what is, she's not waking up. He's like, what the heck happens? And his aunt plugs her into a charger, and he's like, what? You know? So, and of course, it's a Bollywood film, so there's songs and dances and this and that. I'm like, it's so fun. And this actress who plays the character, I'm watching her as an actor because she's got to be that believable as a human being and that believable as a robot at the same time. Because we as the audience, we know she's a robot, but she's playing human. And I'm like watching her every subtle body movement, facial movement. I'm like, this is great. Her name is Kirti Senon. Probably one of my favorite Bollywood actresses right now.
I love Bollywood, so
and
thank you for that.
Yeah, that's a fun one. There's great dancing in there too. The actor, Shahid Kapoor, he's a fantastic dancer. But yeah, that's the last film that I saw. It's really fun. And for anyone who's not into, if you like, I almost want to say if you like American musicals, you'll love Bollywood. But it's not the case that if you love Bollywood, you'll like American musicals.
Correct. I don't know. There's just something very magical about the whole world of it because you also have incredible costumes. Everybody's gorgeous, like gorgeous to a degree where it just doesn't even make any sense. Like the music is so fun and even the way things are filmed, it's just, I don't know, it's just always so much fun. I grew up watching Bollywood because of my bestie, and my whole childhood, I was like, yeah, I'm marrying an Indian guy. We're having a huge Indian wedding. It's going to be fantastic. That did not happen. I married a mechanic from Long Island, but still, it was my dream.
Well, do you take him to Bollywood films? Does he relate?
No, he doesn't want to know. The only close to Bollywood thing that he has seen is I was on a show where we had an episode that was a Bollywood episode. It could never be done now at all. But it was so much fun because I got to live out my dream. I was like, I'm in a Bollywood film.
I'm adding you to there are different groups, because in LA they have these great parties, and of course Diwali is coming up in October. I'll be out of town, but I'll let you know when those things are coming up. So you go dance.
That sounds great to me. My
get in there.
Kiddo, they are in his school, they make sure that everyone gets celebrated and all holidays get celebrated. And the first year, the last few years we've had Indian families in our class, but the first year we did not have an Indian family in our class, and they were like, well, we'll just skip Diwali. And I was like, no, we will not. And I was like, I have 100 saris. Just don't ask why. It's fine. And I showed up in a sari and I taught the kids about Diwali. I was like, it's important.
Oh my
God. Festival of Lights.
That's amazing.
Oh
Festival of Lights, about good over evil.
If you knew how much I love your culture, so much. It's just such everything is so beautiful and just, yeah. It's good stuff. Well, I cannot wait for us to go and have very many plant-based meals. Sarah, you are more than invited. And thank you, Shaan. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, I don't want to pick and choose, but this is one of my most favorite interviews that I've had because I am already such a fan of yours. And this has been a wonderful span of time. Thank you for spending it with us. And thank you for just everything that you do. You are a phenomenal, phenomenal human being. Thank you.
Right back at you. Thank you so much. This has been such a lovely conversation. And I really enjoyed it. I also want to say happy early birthday.
Thank you. I do. I'm going to be 50 years old, everybody. I'm 50.
Oh my God. Happy 50. That's a little deep. Life just seems like it keeps getting better for you, which is great. It's how it should be.
I've been very lucky, and I learn how to enjoy it more and more. So it's good stuff. I'm excited about it. And thank you everybody for listening. As I always say, go out there today and find that thing that makes you happy. Joy is important. Rest is important. If that's what you need, please do that for yourself. And we will see you next time at The Blank Space. Bye.